Part 4. 7 ways to cultivate a mental attitude that will bring you peace and happiness. What a great title. So, Section 12. As usual, you read the section and then come back. Alright, Section 12, 8 words that can transform your life. And Marcus Aurelius, the great Marcus Aurelius, said, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." Very cool. So, controlling your thoughts is, though, one of the toughest activities to do. There's a quote here, "He who conquers his spirit is mightier than he who taketh a city." Something to think about. So, got a question here for you. What are some of the negative thoughts that run through your head on a regular basis? It might be tough, to pinpoint them, but, do your best. Write down as many as you can. Then ask yourself if the negative thoughts are undeniably true. Are they? And even if it is undeniably true, do your best to scrap it from your thoughts. Too many negative thoughts almost will certainly lead to worrying and long-term unhappiness. It's tough to do because the longer you think a certain thought, the easier it is to think it again, and the harder it is to deviate from that. But I think it's worth the effort to think more positively. Now I have another question here in the same section. So what's a tough situation in your life right now? How can you reframe it, change the context, as a challenge to be overcome? You can set yourself up for a greater chance of success just by the way you frame the situation that you're going through in life. Pretty cool trick. And for the final question, I'd like you to perform a quick experiment. Quick, smile, be happy, sing, dance, yeah! Woo! Okay, how do you feel? Probably much better. 'Cause I know I feel much better. Yeah! So, anyways, let me get my laptop back and let's do a little critical thinking. Yeah, see, I feel so much better now. Anyways, so after performing the smile and be happy and sing, dance, whatever floats your boat experiment, think, why do you think this works? Can you really fool your extremely complex and intelligent brain that much? Only from moving your mouth into a smile and moving around your body and acting, happy for a little bit? How is that possible? Just answer that question, see what comes up. Something to think about. Section 13, the high cost of getting even. So, Edith Cavell had a great quote. She said, "I realize that patriotism is not enough. I must have no hatred or bitterness toward anyone." Now, this is a very saintly quote, and I don't know anyone, well, myself, I don't know if I could ever do that, but I try, and I hope you try as well, because it's a great aspiration. So, I have a question here. Are there any people or situations that you feel any bitterness or hatred towards? It could be from the past or the situation you have going on right now. Can you forgive the people involved in the situation? If so, that's awesome. And if not, try to at least, keep them out of your mind, keeping your focus on more productive endeavors. So I have actually got a couple more questions here. This is a really important section, so that's why I got a few more questions. To keep your mind on better things, think about your cause in the world. What change do you want to see happen in the various areas of your life or in the world as a result of your existence? Work on making it happen. It's a good use of your time. And when you have the cause, it's a little bit easier to, forgive and or forget tough situations. And finally, for the final question, let's talk a little bit about anger. Now, anger is poison by itself if it's self-inflicted. But if you befriend anger, it can really work towards helping you. How so? So, here's the question. What are you angry about? How can you channel this into more productive activities? Here I wrote, as I just mentioned, anger by itself is an extremely productive energy. It's very powerful. But if you stew on anger, nothing will happen. It'll turn inward on itself, destroying you in the process. But if you channel anger in an outward activity, a productive activity, it can be magical to your overall contribution to the world. So anger can be your friend. Section 14. And this is another real good section, real interesting. Another quote by our friend Marcus Aurelius. I'm going to meet people today who talk too much, people who are selfish, egotistical, ungrateful. But I won't be surprised or disturbed, for I couldn't imagine a world without such people. Again, another brilliant quote. So people tend to forget to be grateful, some people. It's just human nature. As Dale Carnegie wrote in the book, gratitude has to be cultivated. It's like a flower. And ingratitude is like weeds. They'll show up whether you want. It'll show up whether you want it to or not. So, and unless you're a parent, there's not much you can do about other people's ingratitude. But you can work on your own. So I got one question here. How can you cultivate more gratitude in your life? I have a suggestion that every night before you go to bed you can write down 5 items that happen in the day that you're particularly grateful for. Just something to think about. Section 15. Would you take $1 million for what you have? So I got a quote here. By the way, I thought this was a really nice section too. All of these sections are really good. This is a great book. So, quote by Logan Pearsall Smith. There are 2 things to aim at in life. First, to get what you want. And after that, to enjoy it. Only the wisest of mankind achieves the second. That rings true. So I got a little excerpt from the book that I just found so amazing that I just have to share it in this lecture. Alright, so here it is. Time ran an article about a sergeant who had been wounded on Guadalcanal. Hit in the throat by a shell fragment, this sergeant had had 7 blood transfusions. Writing a note to his doctor, he asked, "Will I live?" The doctor replied, "Yes." He wrote another note, asking, "Will I be able to talk?" Again, the answer was yes. He then wrote another note saying, "Then what in the hell am I worrying about?" So the question is, what in the hell am I worrying about? And I find that's a really interesting wording that'll really create some interesting answers on your part. And the final question, and this is probably the longest question in the entire course, but this is one of the most valuable. It's called Count Your Blessings. Write down 50 things that you are grateful for. And this one goes more in line with the previous section on not worrying about ingratitude, but I put it here because I just intuitively felt it fit here. So write 50 things. Now I wrote the 50 things. The first 10 are usually pretty tough. The next 10 are tough as well. But when you get around 30, 35, stick with it. Because your mind will all of a sudden start to dig deep into situations and pull out all these things that you're grateful for that you didn't even know existed. It's so brilliant. Highly recommend it that you do this exercise. Section 16. Find yourself and be yourself. Remember, there is no one on earth like you. Cliched proverbs again. Be yourself. What the heck does that mean? Well, I got a little exercise here that'll hopefully, connect you with yourself. And of course, yourself is always changing. But here's an interesting thing. Make an inventory of your most powerful strengths personality-wise. For example, when do you feel best? When you're outgoing, shy at a party, in solitude, giving a speech, doing solitary work on stage. What are some of your favorite aspects of your own personality? Now here's a really interesting exercise. It's a bonus. This is not required, but this is highly recommended. Ask your friends and family what they believe to be your strongest and most admirable skills and personality traits. And this will open your eyes to some new insights that you might have not had before. Section 17. If you have a lemon, make lemonade. The cliched proverbs are Dale Carnegie did mention, though, in the intro to the book that there are lots of cliches here that we've heard. But yes, if you have a lemon, make lemonade. I got a quote here by, the most important thing in life is not to capitalize on your gains. Any fool can do that. The really important thing is to profit from your losses. That requires intelligence, and it makes the difference between a man of sense and a fool. That's by William Bolitho after losing his leg in a railway accident. Our very infirmities help us unexpectedly, it turns out, a lot of the times. So I have a question here. What areas in life do you believe are your infirmities? Where do you feel you are at a great disadvantage in life? And is there any possible way to lessen this disadvantage or possibly even turn it into a positive? This one requires a lot of introspection, so, as always, the more in-depth, the better. Section 18, How to Cure Depression in 14 Days. So, this is another interesting section. Got a couple questions here. What if you saw everything in your life on a daily basis as an opportunity to serve? How can your daily actions be seen in the light of service? It's an interesting thought. Again, will require a lot of thought, but it's worth it. Another question I have here. What are 5 things you could do to worry other people? Interesting. And what are 5 things you could do to help others? So 5 and 5. Things you can do to worry others and things you can do to help others. Try to list practical things, utilizing your previously identified in the previous exercise, unique talents and skills. And that concludes part 4. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this course. We're going to get so much out of this book. Thank you.